Hey guys, first Regardsman here, and today I'll be talking about every single new heroic weapon in Space Marine 2's patch 11.0 Reclamation update, and which ones are worth purchasing, and if any of them are complete trash. Now, I did make a video previously on this based on the public test server versions of these weapons, and while most of my opinions do remain the same, a lot of these did receive some buffs, and one in particular received a pretty substantial nerf, so I decided to make a more updated guide on all of these. Now, the first one I want to talk about here is the new Heroic Bolt Sniper Rifle. This is by far the most popular and most controversial of the new weapons. It has a firepower of 6 and a times 10 headshot multiplier. That means that with the proper setup, you will pretty much be one-shotting any Majors in the game and even some of the Extremis, so really powerful gun. And the heroic perk effect is called Replenishing Hit. After performing a headshot, one round is automatically reloaded into the weapon. This basically means as long as you hit your headshots, you will have infinite ammo. Now, unfortunately, on the public test server, you were able to actually regen ammo off of things like Reload Restoration and the prestige perk here, Versatile Precision. Performing a kill with your secondary weapon restores 15% of your primary weapon's ammo. Cooldown is 15 seconds, but now in the official patch 11.0, you don't actually get any ammo off of perks like this at all. I don't think that was a necessary nerf whatsoever. Now, this weapon is still very strong versus Tyranids, but against Chaos, you will definitely struggle because having a 3 magazine capacity and 3 ammo reserve with your only option of getting ammo back being from having your ammo caches and replenishing hit off of your headshots, that is a pretty damn hard thing to do against Chaos. It's probably one of the hardest things to do in the entire game, to be honest. And I really don't understand the balanced philosophy of nerfing a weapon like this, but we have things like Invigorating Icon in the game, or stuff like Secure Stockpile that gives you back 60-second Melt-A-Bombs for your entire team. These perks are damn well overpowered compared to all their other options, but they're still in the game, and people don't really have a problem with these. Why are we nerfing weapons that aren't even the best builds in the entire game? Bulwark is still a stronger class than Sniper. Heavy is still a stronger class than Sniper with multiple setups. This one was only particularly goated against Tyranids, and against Chaos it is still struggling because hitting headshots on Chaos enemies is something that most players just can't do consistently, and this weapon was already a high skill cap weapon. Even with that ammo regen, like maybe nerfing Reload Restoration was fine because going ammo positive from just hitting headshots off this perk was a little excessive, but having Versatile Precision not work at all, I think they should probably roll this back in my opinion, because having this was totally fine. You got like 1 shot back from this, and having only 3 in your reserves, or like 4 with this perk active, is already pretty limiting, to be honest. So I think this one is still worth picking up, still a very powerful option. Tyranids will absolutely eat shit to this enemy, but you definitely have to watch your shots. And against Chaos, it is pretty damn hard, so just keep that in mind. But that's pretty much all there is to say about the Bolt Sniper Rifle here. The next weapon I want to talk about here is the wrapped Instigator Bolt Carbine heroic version. This is by far the best Instigator Bolt Carbine in the entire game currently, and also my favorite of the new heroic weapons. This one feels really good. It has the highest firepower of any option. This one will have a better damage output on the headshots than even the accuracy variant, despite having a 1.8 times headshot multiplier, and this one having a 1.5. The magazine capacity is higher, the ammo reserves are higher, the rate of fire is tremendous because the heroic perk effect is called Higher Rate Burst. Fire rounds in higher rate bursts. This turns your Instigator Bolt Carbine from a 3-round burst weapon into a 5-round burst weapon, and at medium and close range, this thing just dominates. Its DPS output is incredible. It is super fun to use. I think this one fits both Vanguard and Sniper on multiple build setups very well. Probably my preferred weapon on the Vanguard currently, and definitely just supersedes all the Relic Tier variants because this thing just hits like a truck, has pretty decent ammo economy, and it's just an incredible weapon overall. This is the one I picked up first because it just performs well in pretty much every scenario you would want it to. The only place it really struggles is like long range. There are times where like a Tyranid Sniper will be way out in the middle of nowhere. It is pretty hard to actually hit them with that, but this weapon still performs really well where it's supposed to, which is that close to medium range. And if you want to pick this one up first, I couldn't blame you because the weapon is very solid and it single-handedly made Sniper and Vanguard more entertaining for me, so definitely pick this one up. That sounds cool to you. That's pretty much all I have to say on this one. Now, the next one we'll talk about here is Retribution's Bequest, the heroic heavy bolt pistol. This one got a pretty significant buff from the PTS server. Now, on the public test server, this actually had the lowest gunstrike damage of any heavy bolt pistol in the game. It is now the single highest gunstrike damage in the entire game of Space Marine 2 instead, so quite the upgrade there. It's like a 6% DPS increase on your gun strikes over these options, but that is actually pretty substantial. And the heroic perk effect here is No Help is Coming. Shooting an enemy with the Elite Scream status stops it from calling for reinforcements, and headshots will kill in 1 shot. Now, killing a reinforcement in one shot is actually pretty damn useful in this game, especially by yourself. It definitely ups the clear rate of a mission for you, and overall, this thing does kind of hit like a truck. Some people might not like this because the ammo economy is horrible. It does have a magazine capacity of 6 and ammo reserve of 48. They actually upped the ammo reserve option by like 6 from the PTS as well, but to be honest, that's not super substantial. But where I think this weapon really shines is on classes like Tactical, Vanguard, Sniper, and Heavy that already have a primary weapon. They really don't have to worry about the terrible ammo economy of this thing, and instead get to take full advantage of the heroic perk effect to stop reinforcement calls, on top of that tremendous gunstrike damage. Now, on a class like Assault or Bulwark, it definitely feels worse because even though Assault does have a ton of gunstrike perks, you have to be super careful to not run out of ammo, and playing in a team is definitely easier with this thing than playing by yourself because you don't have to worry about the ammunition as much, but it's still very low. I think they should buff this up a little bit on the ammo reserve options because having like 48 ammo, I just don't see the point to make it so low. Like, even if it was just 80 like the other ones, that would still be pretty low for Assault, so they should probably buff that up. Besides that, I think it fits its niche pretty well, and this one is probably my favorite of the buffed heroic weapons versus the PTS and live game. And if you want to pick this one up first, since it is on all classes, I couldn't blame you. It's a pretty good option. That's pretty much all I have to say about this one. Next heroic weapon here is Storm's Dominion. This is the heroic Thunderhammer with the perk effect Electrified Thunderclap. Fully charged attacks leave behind a shock grenade effect. This one is by far the best fencing hammer in the entire game. There is no reason to use the relic tier over this ever, so for that reason alone, I would just pick this Thunderhammer up if you want to use a fencing Thunderhammer ever. And on top of that, from the PTS to the live game, they actually buffed this thing. Now the Assault will lay down a shock grenade effect on a ground pound, which does give you a ton of value off of Zealous Blow for a perk that already gave you a ton of value anyways. And I also want to mention that the way this perk effect works is that you will get a shock grenade effect for any aftershock slam whatsoever, so that counts for uncharged attacks and also things from aftershock improved. You will get an extra shock grenade effect for every additional smash you do here, so I pretty much always take aftershock improved this weapon because of that. And I also think this weapon is probably better on Bulwark than Assault, mainly because Bulwark has more shock perks than the Assault does. He has things like Shock and Awe that give you 25% more damage for enemies in a shock area, and you are putting down shock areas all the time, and they do count for this perk, so really good synergy there. On top of the fact they also buffed up his perk here, Emergency Countermeasure, this patch to have a 45-second cooldown instead of 90. They cut it in half. So putting down shock areas on this guy is just really nice, and honestly just like a really good class synergy overall with this weapon. Assault definitely benefited from the ground pound shock area, but that's just not as good as a Bulwark in my opinion. But either way, this weapon is definitely worth purchasing, if not only for the fact it is the best fencing Thunderhammer in the entire game. This gives you free shock areas on top of that, so great for gunstrike builds, great for Bulwark shock and awe builds, and overall a great option in general. So definitely pick this one up. It sounds cool to you, and you really can't go wrong with the Thunderhammer. Now, the next weapon we have here is the heroic Heavy Bolter Chains of Duty. This is the best Heavy Bolter in the entire game. It's not even close. This one has a heroic perk effect called Reinforced Gun Casing. Perfect parry window increases by 50%. After a gun strike, the weapon is completely cooled, but on top of that, this weapon also has a fencing parry window instead of a balanced parry window. That is unbelievably powerful for the heavy class. The heavy has been locked to balance since the game came out. Balanced parry windows are one of the worst parry windows. They're just the worst parry window in the entire game. Not even one of the worst, they are the worst because they will get you stun locked at times. They will kill you at times. This one completely circumvents that. Really powerful option, and on top of that, it also has no charge up time for the max fire rate on this, which means you can instantaneously go into your max potential CHP recovery immediately into your heavy stance. Really good for that, and overall, this weapon just slaps. Reinforced gun casing is a pretty damn good perk effect. Now, the reason this weapon is completely cooled off of a gun strike is mainly because the venting speed is only 2 here, so it's like the major downside of this weapon is that you will overheat very quickly, and it takes forever to cool down once it overheats, but your gun strikes, they do cool down the weapon immediately, and it's really easy to pull that off. Now, I've seen some people say they don't like that the Heavy Bolter has like a melee perk here. Having an increased parry window in this game is not a melee perk. It is pretty much something you're going to be doing on the heavy no matter what, because the game is a hybrid game for every single class in Space Marine 2. Even if you're not doing like direct melee damage, you will simply be gun striking. This one just makes it way easier to do that, and overall, Chains of Duty is probably the best heroic weapon in terms of like a sheer upgrade to the class, because having a fencing parry window on the heavy is something he has been dreaming of for like a year plus now, and this one finally gives it to him. There's pretty much no reason to ever use the other heavy bolters now. Maybe they'll buff these at some point, but no, giving a fencing parry window to a heavy bolter instantaneously put it as like an S tier weapon in my opinion, as far as like heavy bolter selections go or the heroic selections go, and definitely a great option to pick this one up if you want to have a good time with the heavy bolter. That's pretty much all I have to say on this one. Now, the final heroic weapon we will be talking about here is the Death Grasp Heroic Power Fist. This one is a fencing power fist with a 15 strength, 7+ speed, and 2 clean potential, and the heroic perk effect is called Follow-Up Shot. Performing a finisher marks a nearby Majora's level or higher enemy for a gun strike. The light attack damage increases by 200%, but charge attack damage decreases by 50%. This weapon got a pretty substantial buff from the PTS. In the PTS, the light attack damage increases only 100%. They doubled that, and guess what? All it takes to make light attacks good in Space Marine 2 is giving them 200% more damage. The light attacks on this weapon actually hit pretty damn hard. It's actually a pretty powerful weapon at the moment, in my opinion. Obviously not as strong as the block power fist, because the block power fist is like fucking OP, but this one is still pretty good for gunstrike builds. It definitely hits pretty hard on those light attacks, and despite having a 50% reduced charge attack damage, Power Fist charge attacks with a base strength of 15 are still very strong when they are heavy 50% reduction, so don't be deceived. A 50% reduced damage and a charge attack on this weapon is still way better than any charge attack the chainsword here at the full throttle could possibly hope to do. So really, really good option here. And I think this one is a pretty big winner this patch from like the PTS to the live game, because this 200% increase on top of the increased radius they also gave the gun strikes, because I do want to mention that in the public test server, the radius that you could actually trigger these gun strikes off of was way lower than it is now. So now you can actually pick up those gun strikes far more easily. And that's a pretty fun gimmick to me, because gun striking with things like proven efficiency and armor reinforcement is a very powerful combo on any weapon in this game, and fencing weapons will always perform pretty well with this perk combo in Assault. And now the fist here is just way better for that. And this is honestly the best fencing fencing fist in the entire game, because this one has a 15 base strength on top of that, which means your ground pound will do more damage. It's also nice to pick up for that. And that's pretty much all there is to say about this one. The Death Grasp Power Fist is a pretty fun weapon. It is not like super OP, but it's definitely an entertaining gimmick, and entertaining gimmicks are kind of like the whole point of the heroic weapons in Space Marine 2, and this one does that quite nicely. And overall, I think it's a pretty good option. But that is my opinion on these 6 new heroic weapons in Space Marine 2. The Bolt Sniper Rifle really got an unnecessary nerf in my opinion. Hopefully they roll that back a little bit for things like versatile precision, but either way, all the options are pretty decent. I think the standard balance for these is far better than the initial balance for the first 6 heroic weapons we got, and they are all pretty good if you want to pick any of them up. Though I will say Heavy Bolt Pistol and Bolt Sniper Rifle will probably be in need of a little bit of a buff, but until that happens, they're still usable, they're still viable on all difficulties, and they still perform pretty well. And hopefully this guide helped you. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Which heroic weapon are you picking up first? Which ones have you already purchased? Or maybe you have them all. Either way, thank you for watching. If you like content like this, subscribe for more. And as always, take it easy. Bye.